Hello everyone, I'm Girish Babul, roll number 22, and I'm from Group 4. So basically, we will now study about motherboard. So what is motherboard? A motherboard is a circuit board inside general purpose computing systems, including personal computers, smart television, smart monitors, and other similar devices which support communication between different electrical components and house components such as the CPU, memory, etc. It is typically made of fiberglass and copper. A computer motherboard is typically the largest printed circuit board in a machine chassis. It distributes electricity and facilitates communication between and to the central processing unit, that is CPU, and random access memory RAM and any other component of the computer's hardware. There is a broad range of motherboards, each of which is intended to be compatible with the specific model and size of the computer. Now we will study about the different types of motherboard which are present across. So first one is the AT motherboard, that is advanced technology motherboard. Second one is standard ATX motherboard. Micro ATX motherboard is also another type. Extended ATX motherboard is also another type. Flex ATX motherboard is also another type. LPX motherboard, BTX motherboard, Pico BTX motherboard, Mini ITX motherboard, and Mini STX motherboard. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Samar Bagre. I am going to explain some components of motherboard. The first one is basic input output system. This is a basic input output system which is embedded on a motherboard. It consists of instruction about what to do when computer turns on. It is also responsible for initializing the computer hardware and loading computer operating system. It also allows to interact and respond with output and input devices such as a keyboard, mouse, printer, etc. The next component is chipset. The chipset of computer controls how computer hardware and buses interact with the CPU and other components. The chipset also determines the amount of memory user can add to the motherboard. The first type of chipset is North Bridge chipset. The North Bridge chipset manages the speed at which CPU communicates with computer. It also controls process and video slot etc. The second type of chipset is South Bridge chipset. It controls the rest of all components connected to the computer, including communication between processor and expansion port, such as a USB port and sound card. Then next is cooling fan. It is a fixed over CPU over here. It's maintain the airflow in computer and also helps to remove the heat from computer. It it increases the efficiency of computer uh, by maintaining the temperature constant. The some devices such as a video graphic card have their dedicated cooling fan to maintain temperature. The next is adapter card and expansion slot. The adapter card are integrated into motherboard to enhance computer functionality. Example include sound and video adapters.
Hello, I am Shitish Barkas. I will tell you about the COMS storage system, front panel, and power connector. COMS stands for Complementary Metal Oxide Semiconductor. It is a technology used in designing and manufacturing integrated circuits, which are electronic circuit consisting of many interconnected transistors and other components on a single chip. In COMS technology, transistors are used as switch to control the flow of electric current. These transistors are made from complementary parts of metal oxide semiconductor field effector transistor MOSFET that works together to allow current to flow and stop it. This complementary nature of transistor in COM technology makes it power efficient compared to other types of transistor technology. COM technology is widely used in designing and manufacturing of microprocessor and microcontrollers, memory chips, and other digital logical circuits because of its low power consumption and high noise immunity, and relatively simple manufacturing processes. It also commonly used in image sensing, data converting, and other analog circuits. Storage. The motherboard is also known as main board in the central circuit board in a computer that connects all other components together. It includes various types of storage which can be categorized into two main types, volatile and non-volatile. Volatile refers to temporary memory that stores data that is lost when computer is turned off. The most common type of volatile storage found on motherboard is random access memory, RAM. RAM is also used by the computer to temporarily store the data that is being actively used by the processor. That includes operating system and application programming and data being worked on. The amount of RAM a motherboard can support depending on the type and the number of the memory slots available on the board. Non-volatile non-volatile storage refers to the permanent memory that retains data even when the computer is turned off. The most common type of non-volatile storage found on motherboard is the BIOS input-output system. BIOS chip. The chips contain the main firmware that controls the basic function of the motherboard, such as booting the computer and initializing the hardware. Some motherboard may include additional non-volatile storage such as flash memory or electrical erasable program reading only memory. Front panel. Front panel, also known as panel, connects and connectors or front panel headers, are set of pins on the motherboard of the computer that connects to the front panel of the computer case. The front panel typically includes power and reset button, indicator light, audio jacks, and USB port. The front panel connects on the motherboard are usually located along the bottom edge of the border near the front of the case. The specific pins and their manufacturing may vary depending on the motherboard manufacturing and models, but some common connectors includes power button, reset button, power LED, hardware drive, audio jack, USB port. Properly connecting the front panel connected to the motherboard is important for the computer to function correctly. Motherboard manually typically includes the diagram and instruction for connecting the front panel connector. Power connector. The power connector on the motherboard is a critical component that provides power to the motherboard, and the component connects to it. The power connects is typically of consisting of two types: the main power connector and the CPU power connector. The main power connector is largely of two types. It's typically is 2020 or 24 ATX connector. It provides power to the motherboard itself, including the chipset, memory, and expansion slot. The main power connector is typically located near the edge of the motherboard, usually on the right hand side, and is connected to the power supply unit using a cable. The CPU power connector is a smaller connector that provides power directly to the CPU. It is typically a 4 or 8 pins connector and is usually located near CPU socket on the motherboard. The CPU connector is used to provide additional power to the CPU, which can be necessary for high performing CPU that requires more power than the main power connect, connector can provide. Thank you.
Hello, I am Siddhi Bagul, roll number 23. I will be explaining how a motherboard works. When you turn your computer on, the power supply transfers electricity to the motherboard to be used by the computer. Data is transported between the chipset components by data buses and travels between the South Bridge and North Bridge sections. The data connections to the CPU, RAM, or PCIe are made through the North Bridge component. The operations performed by the RAM are first interpreted by the CPU as being output after the RAM begins to deliver inputs to the CPU. After being written to the PCIe, the data is either copied or moved to the expansion card based on the kind of card you have. The data connection to the BIOS, USB, SATA, and the PCI bus are managed by the Southbridge component. The remaining components interact via an electrical signal which serves as a hub for them. These data buses pass by a microchip's north bridge or south bridge elements, which they branch off to other components like the CPU, RAM, PCI, and PCIe, amongst other elements. Thank you.